And now we welcome in our quarterback, our QB1, the one, the only, Tim Coward.
Jimmy.
Tim.
What's up, guys? What's
Great
up?
to see you, man. We want to start with what was different for Deshaun Watson in Week 3. What led to that breakout performance?
He just looked more comfortable to me. You know, I think he was much more decisive with the football. He had a very good understanding of what he was seeing, what the defense was doing, where he needed to go with the ball. The ball was coming out a little quicker than we normally see with Deshaun. And the receivers did a great job of getting separation, getting open, and catching the football. So it was just a really good performance offensively. I think one that was very much needed, not only for the fans to see, because they hadn't seen it so far out of Deshaun, but for Deshaun mentally, you need one of those games to get you going. You know, he hadn't played that well since he's been with the Browns. He probably feels like his old self now. He's probably thinking, now I got some momentum. Now I'm starting to, this offense is starting to click with me. I'm starting to click with Stefanski, his play calling and what he wants out of me from each play. So, I'm sure Deshaun feels a ton of confidence going into this game against Baltimore, as he should. He played extremely well last week, and, hopefully he can just keep that momentum rolling into this week.
Tim, Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson played 8 games with Nick Chubb and never looked good. He played 1 game without him and looked good. Is there anything that, in Houston, he never had a feature back? And I would never say you don't want Nick Chubb because that's insane, and it's 1 game, which makes it even crazier. Is there something to that feature back not being there that you can connect to his performance, or is it just a coincidence?
Yeah, I would say just more than anything, I think Deshaun just realizes how much he has to step his game up, with Nick not being in the lineup. I think it would be crazy, I think, to think that taking that type of player out of your lineup would benefit anyone,
right.
Much less the quarterback. I think you always want that running game that guy is going to take the pressure off of you from a quarterback standpoint. But I think it's just more of Deshaun saying, all right, our best player is out. I've got to be better. I have to be better in the passing game because obviously the running game is going to take a step back without one of the league's best backs out there in the backfield. So I got to be better as a quarterback. I got to get the ball out quicker. I got to make quicker decisions. I got to anticipate throws. I got to take care of the football. And I think that was probably his mindset going into that one.
Tim, I wasn't supposed to do this. I wasn't even supposed to ask this question, but I'm going to mess up the rundown and ask it. We talking about Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson. Today, if you had to choose one moving forward as your quarterback, who would it be?
Man, that's a tough one. If I had to pick today, I'll probably take Lamar Jackson just because I've seen such a, much more of a body of work out of Lamar. And, I know kind of what he's going to give me. Deshaun, since we've seen him come back from the suspension, it's just been so inconsistent, so up and down. And I know Lamar is going to be a consistently good player. Probably at this point, I'm taking Lamar, but I think Deshaun has a huge upside. He can get back if he can get back to that level he was playing at when he was with the Texans. Then I think you have a serious debate. But I think as I sit here today, I'd have to go with Lamar.
Way to be a no fence writer on that, Tim. You
dove right in.
Said it with your chest. That's what I like.
Yeah.
I thought Mikey was going to get me killed with that question, so I'm going to use you as the meat shield. I'm going to put you out in front of me.
We're asking you that later.
Yeah, get your
I agree with Tim. Tim said it, not me. Tim said it. Hey, the play with Deshaun where he just turned around and panicked and threw it 15 yards behind him. As a quarterback, how does that happen? What happened there?
I don't know. I think you never know what's going through a quarterback's mind at all times. I think he just, like you said, I think the biggest thing was he just kind of panicked and didn't, and just kind of lost track of what he was doing. And I think all quarterbacks, if you watch games throughout the league each week, you see quarterbacks just make those plays where you scratch your head like, what the hell is this guy doing? But it just happens sometimes. There's a lot going on. The game is moving super fast. You have to make so many decisions in a split second. Within each play. So, I think he just broke down a little bit and just kind of lost track of what he was doing. He made a bad play. But, I think, thankfully the rest of the game was really good. He made good decisions and took care of the ball. So it was definitely good to see him have one of those type of weeks.
Did you ever have one of those? Not necessarily maybe turn around and throw it 15 yards behind you, but did you ever have a panic moment where you go back and watch it on film and go, oh, God, that was bad?
Oh, I had a lot of them. I had all season of them.
Remember, he had no offensive line, so he had a lot of opportunities to do that.
Yeah, I think my rookie year was an entire panic. Whole damn season.
After passing through. Hey, Tim, this Browns defense has done it again through 3 weeks. I don't know if you saw, but earlier this week we showed a stat that showed that the top 3 defensive performances by one metric this year in the NFL were the Browns' first, second, and third games. They are playing, although it's early, at a very elite level. When you look at what they're doing, does it scare you at all that now they're going to see a running quarterback? Because the one thing that all their opponents had in common in weeks 1, 2, and 3, Burrow wasn't going to run. He had the hurt calf. In week 2, obviously Kenny Pickett isn't the most mobile guy in the world. And last week, Tannehill is more of a statue too. Should we be concerned this week because all of that changes?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jay. And it is going to be a much different type of test for this defense. And obviously, the first 3 games, what we've seen on the defensive side of the ball has been unbelievable. They're playing at a historic pace right now. They're shutting teams down like we haven't seen before. And it's going to be a much tougher test against Lamar Jackson. Lamar has proven against everybody in the league, everybody comes in with kind of that same game plan against Lamar. Let's keep him in the pocket. Let's make him be a pocket passer. Well, he's shown now that he can be a pocket passer, and also you can't keep him in the pocket. He finds a way to get out of the pocket and to create, extend plays, and to make plays down the field with his legs and with his arms. So it's going to be a huge test. I think it's going to take a lot of discipline for this defensive line to stay in their rush lanes, to not get deeper than the quarterback when they're rushing the passer, push the pocket from the inside. Just try to bottle him up as much as you can. But, like I said, that's much easier said than done. So this will be a much tougher test this week against Lamar, and I'm looking forward to see how, the game plan they come up with to defend Lamar, and more importantly, how they go out and execute that.
Tim, 2 guys I wanted to point out defensively who I think are playing great that, number one is JOK, who for much of the first 2 years in Cleveland looked like he wasn't even a football player, certainly last year. He looked completely lost. He looked like he had no instincts. Grant Delpit had struggled his time here. At the end of last year, he started to play better, but first 3 games, he's taken it to another level. When you see guys that look kind of lost, and then all of a sudden there's a new coach, and some of it, like JOK, seems like all of a sudden he's got football instincts, but it can't. What happens? What does the coach do with guys like that turns them from guys who look lost to guys who look like stars in 1 month?
Yeah, I think it's really just guys feel more comfortable in certain systems than they do in others, and they're being asked to do things that they're more comfortable with, things that they're better at doing. And I think that's what Jim Schwartz does extremely well is he asks guys to do what they're really good at. He doesn't put them in a situation where they're going to struggle. He's not going to ask a safety to cover a guy one-on-one all the way across the field if he knows he can't do that. He's going to put them in good situations, and I think that's what great coaches do. And JOK is playing great football. I think I saw a stat earlier this week where I think last year it said he missed a certain percentage of tackles, maybe 14% of missed tackles throughout the season. This year, it's down to 7. So he's cut that in half. He's much more of a sure tackler. And, I think, like you said, that has a lot to do with his instincts. And he's being in the right place. He's being put in the right situation. So these guys are really improving, from the front end to the back end. This whole defense just looks completely different. Obviously Myles is playing at a lights out level right now. So it's great to see these guys improving and feeling comfortable within that system and showing what they're capable of doing on that side of the ball.
Tim, what's crazy though is you say, well, Jim Schwartz is a great coach. We all agree. He's put him in a system that's more comfortable. Why doesn't every coach do that? Shouldn't that be obvious that you should do that? I don't are there too many coaches that are like, this is my system and you got to do it my way? I don't understand why anybody would do it. It seems so obvious.
Yeah, I think it is kind of that where, each coach comes in, they have their style, they have their system that they've ran for, however many years they've been a coach, and it's what they believe in. So when they come in, I think, obviously everyone tries to do, put guys in certain situations to help them out, to make plays, to be their best version of themselves. But some coaches just do it better than others. Some coaches come up with better schemes. That's why we get elite coaches and we get coaches that are just okay. It's just like a player. Just some guys are much better at coming in and designing these things and coming up with ways to put guys in the right situations. And I think he's been great at what he's done with Myles Garrett. You come in here and you think how can Myles Garrett get any better than he has been throughout his career? But to me, what Schwartz has been able to do with him as far as moving him around and creating situations for Myles to get one-on-one when he can, in pass rush situations, it's taken Myles' game to another level as well. So he's done a great job with everybody on that defense, and it's been great to see. And but like Jay mentioned earlier, this week's going to be a much different test for those guys. So we'll see how they go and perform against Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense.
Tim, I got to the Browns defense has been dominant. They've been getting pressure all over the place. When you were playing quarterback and when you were in the league, what was more difficult, playing against a defense that was masterful at disguising the coverages and what they wanted to do pre-snap versus post-snap, or a team that just got penetration and caused havoc in the backfield by guys having penetration? Which is that was more difficult for you to handle?
They're both difficult in their own way, but I think for me, not being the most mobile type of guy, I think it was that getting penetration, getting pressure on the quarterback. I think, if you get to most quarterbacks in this league, other than your Lamar Jacksons and a guy who can, really get out of the pocket and really extend plays with their legs, a guy like me who was a true pocket passer, I really was affected by that, with guys, just kind of feeling that pressure, of guys coming at you, and, you got guys, you feel guys at your feet, and you just don't feel like you have time to step into throws and time to let plays develop down the field. So, for me, it was certainly that pressure. And, I know every quarterback's a little different, but, no, I don't know any quarterback that says they like pressure and they like to, be getting hit as they throw the ball every play or getting sacked and those kind of things. So I think that really affects a quarterback mentally. It really speeds up your process of where you want to go with the ball. It doesn't allow you to let plays develop down the field as much as you would like to. So it really affected me as a quarterback, that instant pressure.
The play where Myles just went in motion on his own and drew two blockers with him. Well, yeah. I understand there's not very many guys in the league that that are so good that you have to target that way, but that's the first time I recall ever seeing it. He said he did it on his own just to screw with them. The play clock was running down. He knew they couldn't snap it until they were set. Why don't we see that happen more often?
I don't know. I've never seen that before in all my time of watching football, where a guy, first of all, I've never seen a defensive end just go in motion like that. Certainly Myles created that. He came up with that one by himself.
It's called the Myles motion.
The Myles motion. Yeah, I'm sure maybe they put that in the defense now just to confuse guys. But, so he goes in motion and two guys just go with him. And, I've never seen that before. So that was new to me. And, Myles is just, he has like the ultimate green light. It's almost like a Steph Curry in basketball where they just like, you can shoot any shot you want. You can do whatever you want to do out on the court. And Myles, he kind of has that freedom. Like, do your thing, man. Just go out there. We've seen him doing crossover dribbles before the snap. Now we see him go in motion. It's like something new every week with him. And I think that's really bringing out Myles' creativity and freeing him up to go out and be the player that he is.
Yeah, and that, I think, is the Schwartz effect. And it's funny because you're damned if you do, Tim, and you're damned if you don't as an offense. If he goes in motion like that and you don't bring your tight end over there with him, you're leaving yourself extremely vulnerable because now he's coming where there isn't an extra blocker on that side. If you do decide to bring him with you, you run the risk of, if it's late in the play clock, taking a delay of game or having to burn a timeout. It really is. I can't believe we've never seen it until now.
It's one of those,
but
why didn't we think of that?
Why did this take so long?
Yeah. Is the counter to that, Tim, you just run to the side that Myles just vacated? Like, in all honesty, is that the counter to that?
It really messes with your protection schemes and communications in the offensive line. You call the play in the huddle and you've got it set to go in this direction, and all of a sudden the guy, you have two of your blockers move to the other side. It kind of screws up, your protection scheme and everything like that, and who your reads, your hot routes are, side adjustments are as a quarterback and wide receivers as well. So it requires a lot of communication with those guys. When Myles moves around like that, and you have, your offensive line has to start scrambling. Where's this guy going now? Who are we going to? Who's our hot guy? That type of thing. So it definitely messes with defenses, and I think that we'll probably see a lot more of that now going forward. Now that we've seen how much that does truly affect an offensive scheme.
But how many guys in the league truly command that type of attention? Like, I can't believe it's
not many.
No.
Yeah, I'm thinking, just off the top of my head, probably a T.J. Watt.
Yep.
Maybe one of the Bosa guys, Bosa brothers. Yeah, some of those. It's only a handful of guys that you really are concerned with that much. Where that if you put them in a one-on-one situation, that more than likely it's going to be a sack if the quarterback doesn't get rid of the ball in a hurry.
Tim, we'll get your prediction in a second, but before we get there and let you go, one question. We've talked about the Schwartz effect on the defense and how they're flying around, they're making plays. It's astonishing how much different the defense looks this year from last. And I know they added some pieces too, but I think we all agree that Schwartz is the biggest component. He is already in 3 games as the Browns defensive coordinator, held 2 opponents to 3 points. Joe Woods did that once in 3 years. What effect does that have on the quarterback and on the offense, knowing that you probably don't have to shoot 30 or 35 points to come out with the victory? How does that change your mindset and your performance?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jay. And I think for a quarterback, it really does affect your mindset, and it affects the type of plays that you try to go out and make throughout a game. You know that you don't have to force the ball. You know, if the play calls for, you know, a deep shot down the field and it's not there, you know you don't have to force that. It's okay to come back, check the ball down. If the running back breaks a tackle and gets you a first down, you extend the drive, that's great. But also, you know, in the back of your mind, if you have to punt the football, it's not such a bad thing because you're probably going to get it right back. With that type of defense. So it certainly does affect the way you think about things as a quarterback, strategy-wise, how aggressive you need to be throughout the game, you know, especially early in games. You know, you can go out and just say, hey, I'll take what's there. I'm not going to force anything because I know I've got a great defense to support me. So that's very comforting as a quarterback to know you have that, you know, that defense that you can rely on, and you don't have to go out and score, you know, like you said, 35 points. You know, the defense is probably going to make it a low-scoring game. So you just go out and do your thing and not turn the football over. Try not to put them in a bad situation on a short field, and just play as conservative as you need to as a quarterback because you know you have that defense to back you up.
Tim, we need 2 predictions. We want your prediction on the Browns-Ravens, but also your Kentucky Wildcats are 4-0. Now, they haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah.
You did have your first conference game against Vanderbilt. But you got Florida at home this week, and then the big one, obviously, Georgia next week on the road. Do they stay undefeated? I think Florida's ranked at the back end of the top 25. Do they stay undefeated?
Yeah.
And what about the Browns?
Yeah, I think Kentucky is, you know, we've had a lot of success against Florida over the last 5 or 6 years. You know, all the games have been really tight, been really close. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Kentucky has won 3 out of the last 5 games against Florida. So it's, you know, we got them at home. It's a noon kickoff. Unfortunately, you know, I was hoping it was going to be a later game, but you know, we'll all be there supporting the Cats. And I think Kentucky gets a win at home. Obviously, going to be a huge game the week after against Georgia on the road. So, you know, the SEC has just kind of been up and down, you know, this year. Other than Georgia, you know, Alabama doesn't look like Alabama. LSU's kind of been inconsistent. So it's, you know, it's kind of wide open this year. So we'll see what Kentucky, you know, what type of team they really have this week when they play Florida. But, you know, so I'll take Kentucky in that one. But as far as the Browns go, I'm going to go with the Browns just because of that defense. You know, I think it will be a very tough test for them against Lamar. You know, but they're playing at home, and Deshaun had such a big game last week. It's just if he can go out and continue that type of performance with the defense that we have, I certainly have to take the Browns at home.
Thanks, Tim. We
Sounds
appreciate
great.
it, man.
Tim, we'll
guys.
see you next week, man. Hopefully we'll be 3-1 and talking about the bye week and the Niners. We'll see you then.
That'd be great. All right, look forward to it, guys. See you then.